Hey everyone, how are you doing this afternoon, morning, or evening, depending on where you are? My name is Michaela Valletta, also known as the Body Scientist. And in case you are unfamiliar with me, I am a strength and conditioning coach and a sports nutritionist with a background in exercise and sports science and nutrition science. And I'm also a doula. I have a holistic approach to the body and its functioning. I have committed my life to studying all the ways we could take our body to its highest level. And I don't just believe, but I know that 1 ounce of prevention is always worth more than 1 ounce of cure, okay? So I'm currently in a Master of Science program in medical cannabis science and therapeutics. And you know, I'm not an herbalist, but I'm into herbalism because I'm into using natural things that help to support our body and our immune system and help our body heal naturally and maintain homeostasis and reach homeostasis naturally. So the fact that that's always been my approach, getting into medical cannabis and understanding the therapeutic benefits of cannabis just completely coincides and complements what the path I was already on, my approach already, right? And I love the program and what I'm learning. I'm also a new student at the Cannabis Holistic Institute under a naturopathic doctor named Dr. Pepper Hernandez, who's amazing. So I'm very serious about being able to educate people, okay, and help people when it comes to cannabis medicine. I have a variety of clients that I've been working with for years, over the years, in a variety of ways, and whatchamacallit, there's so much to know, because I've done videos over the past few years talking about medicinal properties of cannabis and ways that I've used it for myself. But the ways that I've used it has always been for acute injuries, and because I don't have any chronic health problems. I do have clients that have chronic health issues that I've worked with them, but some people are on lots of different medications, right? And so if somebody is taking lots of medications, it is important to know how it interacts with those things, right? So I'm just very serious about, building my expertise in that field, in that area. But there's a lot of things that I've learned in the past few months when I really started to understand, policy and laws around cannabis medicine. And it's really kind of annoying in a lot of ways, right? Because one thing, I have a background in Western science, I respect it, but I always say, and I've done videos about this in the past, that Western science does not confirm anything, okay, that indigenous people didn't already know. So a lot of what Western scientists are doing is trying to figure out how, like we know cannabis has been used for thousands of years medicinally. So scientists now could be trying to figure out, well, why was it good for this? And why is it good for that? And what is the mechanism of action for the headaches or for uterine issues, but people have been using it that way. They didn't have these labs. They didn't have labs to tell you what percentage of THC and CBD and what percentage of terpenes and this and that was in it, okay? People didn't go to a dispensary with 150 different strains. I'm not saying things ain't wrong with it, but I'm just saying like people weren't doing that and they were still using it medicinally. So there's lots of wisdom and things to be learned from people who are using something for thousands of years successfully. And it's annoying to me that, when it comes to medicine, not just cannabis medicine, but even other forms of medicine, all right, that it has to be proven to the powers that be. We need their permission. Like even when it comes to childbirth, okay? Women have been giving birth since the beginning of time. Okay, before there were PIS pregnancy tests, before there was no ultrasound, all the technology in the hospital, women were giving birth, and women, there was a time women were having 12, 13, 14 kids. Okay, and they didn't have all that. So if there are women now who say, I don't want to give birth in a hospital, I want to give birth at home, people think that they're crazy. And in some states, you have to damn near ask permission. In some states, if a woman had a C-section before, they're telling her she's not allowed to. Or you have twins, you're not allowed to. I mean, it's just like the type of things to do things, ancestral practices, things that people have been doing for generations and were healthy, like raw milk. If you follow me, you hear me talk about raw milk all the time. Okay? Raw milk is a superfood that is very good for your immune system, your brain health. It's good for your gut health. Okay? And in the years that I have been using, consuming raw milk and referring it, to clients, I've never known one person that's had something negative happen to them from drinking raw milk, ever. But plenty of people get sick from the milk that's in the supermarket that is coming from sick cows, that is homogenized and it's pasteurized. So it's just like, but if you look up articles on Google, or every article will tell you raw milk can give you foodborne illness and it's toxic, when really, if you look and see, all the cases of foodborne illnesses come from some vegetables or something that were contaminated. They came from the commercial food industry. Because the commercial food industry has very unsanitary practices on a number of levels. Okay? But that stuff is fine, it's approved by the FDA. Right? And so now with cannabis, we have this issue where, you're talking about regulation. Now, I know from my background in nutrition and food and the graduate program I was in a graduate program in applied physiology and nutrition at Teachers College, Columbia University. They were the only program in the country that did not take any money from the food industry. I didn't fully understand the significance of that back then, but all the nutrition programs in this country are funded by the food industry, by the commercial food industry. Okay? And the commercial food industry, they're the same as the pharmaceutical companies. They're the same people. They are the same people. And they give more money to politicians than any other group, any other industry. First it's the food industry, then the pharmaceutical industry, but they're the same people again, right? Then we have the FDA. People think that the FDA does research. They do not. The way the FDA works is, if you want to come out with a product, you research your own product, you conduct research on your own product, and you submit it to the FDA for approval, and you pay the FDA, okay? So if I want to come out with a fat burner supplement, I make my own stuff. I research my own stuff and submit it to them, and I'm paying them a fee. That's nothing but corruption. That's like when something happens with the police, if there's a big scandal and the police say, we're going to investigate ourselves. No, that's biased. You need an outside organization to come in and do the research. You know what I'm saying? So that's already flawed. So FDA approval doesn't mean anything. People think, the American public thinks FDA approval means it's safe and it's proven to be safe. Absolutely not. There are so many toxic chemicals in our food. If you follow my work, if you're on YouTube, definitely make sure you follow me on Instagram. If you follow my work, you see how I dissect ingredients and things all the time. Whether it be skincare products, whether it's cleaning products, whether it is the food that you're eating. There's so many toxic ingredients that are known carcinogens, that are known neurotoxins, okay? They may be in the food 100 times, all right? So something being FDA approved is all political. Could the company pay the FDA off? Okay, now I'm not going to get too much into that in this because then they're going to be blocking my stuff. I don't even get paid for these. That's why I'm going to have a lot of my real conversations on my OnlyFans, the body scientist, okay? Because when I be speaking things that's too real on here, they be blocking me all the time, and I don't want those problems. But I do want to tell you the truth, okay? So now, when it comes to cannabis medicine, all right, there was, the graduate program that I'm in, there was a symposium I went to for the students, and there was a doctor there who implemented like a medical cannabis program at a hospice in the Bronx, okay, not too far from where I'm from in New York. And she said that, she saw it really help these elderly people who were in hospice, right? It helped them get off these machines and go home and die at home with family, right? And just be comfortable enough to do that. But she said that because cannabis is a Schedule I drug, it's federally illegal, nurses are not allowed to touch it and administer it. So in that program, the families of the program had to agree. It was actually a Jewish hospice in the Bronx. They had to agree And then the family of the hospice patient went to a dispensary, purchased the products, and brought it back and administered to their family member. Now, that sounds all well and great, but the problem with that is she told me that it had to come from the dispensary. So if I am growing cannabis at home, which it is legal to do in New York, right? But let's say I am growing cannabis at home, and God forbid something happens to one of my family members and they're in hospice. I, by the law, am not allowed to make them something I'm not allowed to make them a cannabis oil or edible to bring to them. Instead, I have to get it from a dispensary, which is a problem, okay? Because first of all, a lot of the stuff in the dispensary has bad chemicals in it, okay? A lot of the edibles and everything, like, it's a whole bunch of sweets. It's a whole bunch of sweets. Somebody's asking me, how does dairy and meat affect somebody when they're trying to heal from fibroids or HPV or HSV? I cannot answer that in this video because this video is not about that. But maybe if you ask it somewhere else, I'll have time to answer it. And definitely on my OnlyFans page, that is a place that if you want certain questions answered, you definitely can come on there and ask questions. I will make it a priority to answer questions on that page. On here, I might be able to get to it, but it's just not so much time. But I'm just going to give a general statement and say I don't think that anybody should stop eating meat or dairy because of any condition. I just think you need to get the best quality. So you want to get raw grass-fed milk from healthy cows, and you want to get grass-fed meat and stuff like that, okay? Which is totally different than eating milk and meat from the commercial food industry. My OnlyFans page is onlyfans.com/thebodyscientist. So on that page, I'll be getting more in depth with a lot of these conversations, and people are allowed to ask, what they want me to talk about and stuff like that. But yeah, so that is it. I will post it below here when I'm done. So it's like I have an uncle in Massachusetts. He's been growing cannabis. He's in his 80s. He's been growing it since he was in his 20s. In Massachusetts when it wasn't legal or whatever, It's legal now. Actually, I don't know if it's legal in Massachusetts to grow cannabis. I don't know. But I know elderly people in Philly and Massachusetts who grow cannabis plants. And it's like, okay, so if they should know that if they were to get a headache, if they were to get back pain, God forbid they had a stroke, or to prevent any of those things from happening, they can take this cannabis that they are already growing and smoke it or cook with it, make it into an oil, use it topically, right? It shouldn't be that and they should be able to give that to their family, okay? It shouldn't be that they have to go to a dispensary to get it because, like I said, I've noticed that the edibles and stuff in dispensaries are not good. If you have cancer, if you have diabetes, if you have arthritis, if you have practically any health problem, you don't want to eat edibles that's in cookies, in granola, and gummy bears and stuff like that, okay? Because that's a whole bunch of sugar. And sugar is the enemy of autoimmune problems. It feeds cancer cells. People with gut dysbiosis, which is a lot of people, okay? It's not good for your blood sugar levels. I mean, there's so many things. So if somebody is using it medicinally, sometimes you do need to consume it. I think it's much better to put it in a brothy soup, okay? Because brothy soup, the broth already is very healing, okay? It's very healing for the gut. It's very healing for your immune system, very healing for your tissues, very good for your brain. It's just, and so it goes well. Or you can put it in like a warm milky tea with some raw milk, or you can make some fish and make a buttery sauce. That is way better, okay, than consuming, they're saying they're consuming candy and cookies and granola, right? And I see that a lot. I see there's a big disconnect, even in the world, in the cannabis world. I see a lot of people in the cannabis world talking about how important it is to have cannabis that doesn't have, that's not grown with chemicals, and they're not using all this messed up stuff on it, and everybody's so holistic minded. But all of the food that I see in the cannabis space, okay, when I go to conferences, when I was at, symposium for my grad program, when I see there's, events that are happening and I see who the sponsors are and the stuff that they're selling, a lot of these food products, these edibles, are not nutritious. They're actually not good for you. They have bad additives in them. I just discovered sometimes I don't want to say things because I don't want to, it's like you don't want to make enemies, or you don't want to make people feel bad. You don't want to talk down about their business. But at the same time, I have been my brand and been doing what I've been doing for a long time. And I take food quality very seriously. And I'm always about educating my clients so you understand how to evaluate things for yourself. So no matter what, you can look at something and you can evaluate it for yourself and not fall for the okie doke. Because when it comes to your health, what you don't know can hurt you. So if you're consuming something that's made from jacked up ingredients, is toxic, you could be doing you could be doing yourself harm. It's counterproductive, right? So, and it's not necessary. So I feel like I have to speak up about that. But I'm going to say I just came across like a cannabis-infused ice cream company. I think they're in Chicago. I won't say their name. But they're sponsoring an event, that I plan on going to. And I'm looking at it and I'm just like, I would never eat this ice cream. Like, forget about the cannabis being in it. It just has every bad ingredient you could ever imagine. So even for fun, I don't want to eat that. Because, like, I love ice cream, right? But for fun, I don't eat that. I would never eat ice cream with carrageenan and guar gum and soybean oil and corn oil or canola oil, artificial flavors and this. No. I don't eat that for fun. I ain't eating that for medicine. No. First of all, I can taste it. Okay? Ice cream is like, I love ice cream. And ice cream is a health food if it's made from real ingredients, real milk, real cream, some egg yolks, some salt, some sugar, some strawberries. You know what I'm saying? That's what's supposed to be in ice cream. And that is actually good for you. So I consistently see that in the cannabis space where there's people who are selling cannabis drinks and everything is like juice based when cannabis is really fat soluble and everybody's so afraid of fat. But trying to avoid fat makes you eat more sugar. And sugar is the problem, okay? We need fat. Thank you. See, someone said, Energy said I was right about the raw milk. Yes, raw milk is amazing. But we need fat. Every single cell in our body is surrounded by a lipid bilayer, which means a wall of fat. Okay, our brain is 50% saturated fat. We need cholesterol for our brain to send signals properly. You know what I'm saying? Everything that has to do with our brain, our mental, saturated fat, cholesterol, very important. Not in especially the animal ones, the animal fats, and cholesterol, which is only in animal foods. Okay, coconut oil is a great fat, but it's nothing for your brain. It's great for your immune system if you're burning fat, but it's nothing for your brain. Okay, and canola oil, soybean oil, corn oil, all that stuff is straight poison. Yeah, there is sugar in fruit, but if you're going to eat fruit, it's good to eat fruit with a saturated fat. Same thing with vegetables, right? Because it helps to prevent your blood sugar levels from spiking too high too quickly. And also, when you consume a saturated fat with any kind of carbohydrates, which fruit is, it also helps you, let me say, when you consume saturated fat with fruit and vegetables, it helps you to extract more nutrition, okay? Like beta-carotene, which is a precursor of vitamin A. Vitamin A is a fat-soluble vitamin. Beta-carotene is a precursor of vitamin A, meaning that it can turn into vitamin A. It's not true vitamin A, but it can be converted into it, but it needs a lot of saturated fat in order to do that. That's why you see people eating peaches and cream, bananas and cream, berries and cream, strawberries and cream. People eat ice cream. They eat yogurt with fruit. People eat butter with their yams, spinach cooked in butter. You know what I'm saying? Broccoli and cheese. All of that, helps you to absorb more nutrition from it as well. Okay? So just eating fruit by itself is not the best thing unless it's a really hot day and you've been sweating or you just finished doing some really intense physical feat. Otherwise, because then your muscles will utilize that sugar a lot differently than when you're in a stagnant state. Okay, that gets into metabolism and stuff like that. But like, I really don't eat fruit like that unless it's like if I'm like in New Orleans or somewhere really hot and I see some fruit, I'll eat it. I'll drink juice then. But usually, like, I eat my fruit in my ice cream, or I make a shake every morning with raw milk and kefir, and I put fruit in there, right? So I don't get up and eat fruit for breakfast. Like when you see people just eating fruit, like, no, I always mix it with a fat, or somebody can eat berries and cheese or something like that, right? So yeah, like a lot of these edibles, that people are, that I see people serving at, cannabis events, or just in dispensaries, have a lot of bad ingredients. And I would never recommend that somebody consume them, especially if they have certain health problems. So if somebody has that knowledge, like somebody like myself, and I want to help somebody in my family, I'd rather make it. Okay. Not only is also cheaper and more affordable, like having to go to a dispensary to buy medicine can be limiting for people who don't have the money. And if somebody has a chronic health problem, they may need a lot of something. They may need to keep bringing up on this oil or this tincture or this food. So that makes it challenging. It's like, okay, you're saying medicinal cannabis is legal, but I have to only if I go to your dispensaries. And only if I get permission from this doctor is one of my one of the qualified conditions. Every state has certain qualified conditions for which they allow you to get a medical cannabis card. And you have to spend money on that. In Illinois, it might be like $200. Like, for some people, those are limiting factors. They may not have $200. They don't have the money to go to the dispensary because medical insurance is not covering or helping them. You know what I'm saying? Depending on what they're dealing with, they may need a lot more of certain things. So there becomes many different barriers, in this cannabis medicine, with it. Now you have other countries like Ecuador, where I was just at, okay? Ecuador and South Africa, cannabis medicine is legal. It's legal, cannabis is legal, but not to buy it or sell it. You can legally grow it, you can legally consume it in your residence, but you're not allowed to buy it or sell it. And that can be an issue because you have people who might want to use cannabis medicinally, but they don't want to grow it. Like maybe they can't grow it. They don't want to grow it. You know what I'm saying? It's not their thing. They just want to be able to buy it. So if you have a country like that, then that could be an issue where it's like the rules like, oh yeah, you can grow it yourself and you can use it, but you just can't buy it or sell it. That also becomes a limiting factor when it comes to access for people and using cannabis medicinally. Now, I do not, have permission from a doctor's note or, a qualifying condition, but I use it for many things. Like, growing up, I had an issue with headaches. I don't get headaches too much anymore, but the times that I do, when I get headaches, I always think, okay, because usually if I have a headache, it's because either I haven't eaten properly in the past day or two, I'm too dehydrated, or I haven't gotten enough sleep. I'm like chronically sleep deprived. So I reflect back for the past few days. Am I hydrated? Did I sleep enough? Am I sleep deprived? And what did I eat? And if I can identify that it was one of those things, I try to correct that, right? But sometimes when a headache is too far gone, it's like correcting it. I try to correct that, whether it be hydrate myself, eat food, and then go to sleep, and hope that I wake up with it gone. But when I need extra help, I use CBD oil, okay? I put some CBD coconut oil into some warm tea. I might make like a tea with lavender and chamomile. Okay, ginkgo is also good because ginkgo has to increase the circulation of blood to your brain. And I'll put that in like a milky tea because I have my raw milk. And put a teaspoon of the CBD infused cannabis oil, and I use that for my headaches, and it helps tremendously. When I had a really bad fall on the ice and I ripped my navel ring out my navel on the pole, I used heavy THC cannabis infused coconut oil to help with the pain and the inflammation, and it helped me heal very quickly. And prevent infections. When I got into a car accident last year, okay, and just first the muscle on the right side of my back was so spazzed up and knotted up that if you looked at my back, it was like two different people. And somebody took the THC, the high THC cannabis oil and massaged it into my back, and it helped tremendously with the inflammation and the spazzing of my muscle. Went down tremendously. Then when I would move a certain way, I would get like a shooting pain in my back, and I needed more. So I put a teaspoon of it in the tea in the morning, and it really calmed my nerves down and my nerve response. It made me able to function. And then after a few weeks, I didn't need it anymore. My back's 100% fine. And at that time, my back was so jacked up, I thought it would never be okay again, right? But I didn't take Tylenol or anything like that. I took it upon myself to use it medicinally. I didn't go to a doctor and say, can I have permission to use this for this car accident? Because first of all, my issue wasn't even a chronic issue. You know what I'm saying? And then I have to go pay $250 to get their permission. You know what I'm saying? When I already know how to use it medicinally. And a lot of what I learned was from a Jamaican friend of mine. A lot of it was that I learned from a Jamaican friend of mine who has taught me a lot about using it medicinally. And he makes the oil and the tincture that I use, okay? Now I have clients that have also used it and gotten tremendous benefits from it, and so I know what's in it. It's small batch. I know him and his growing techniques and how good quality it is, and so with well, there's a lot that I want to say, but I don't want to get too much into it here because some things that I want to say, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't say that right now. And it's weird being a true healer, you know what I'm saying? Because what you know to be real and necessary in healing, a lot of times is against the law, right? And nobody wants to break the law. But when that's my heat, old school building. When you think about doctors who might have been giving women abortions when it was illegal, you know what I'm saying? It was illegal. But they, being the healers that they are, and knowing that they're a woman who needed those services, they still performed it, risking their lives and their livelihood by doing something like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that. I mean, when cannabis was very illegal in the 80s, there were people in New York, people in California, who had companies with delivery services where they were delivering cannabis to AIDS patients to help them with all the symptoms from the drugs and stuff like that. And it was very illegal, but there's people who did it anyway. And they risked getting in trouble anyway. So I'm just going to say that, when you're truly a healer, and you're truly about health in the body, you're going against a system that is bigger than people understand. And when you want to be somebody who tells the truth, which is why I work for myself, I'm independent, because I don't want someone telling me what I have to tell people. I don't want to lie to people because I want to keep my job and my license. I really do care. I don't want to lead somebody the wrong way, because this organization said that, and I know it's BS. I don't want that kind of blood on my hands. I don't want that kind of blood on my hands. So, and so it's a hard place to be. And so being in this cannabis space can only turn one into an activist, and I just see, one of the disconnects, too, is the nutrition is very lacking. And a lot of people and I've done videos in the past on nutrition and cannabis and endocannabinoids. I feel like a lot of people who are using it for chronic issues, they have bad nutrition. Because it's like, why do you have, anybody that has a chronic health issue, why do you have a chronic health issue? It's not normal. And usually it's going to poor nutrition. So then you're using cannabis medicinally to help with this chronic health problem that's helping you. But a lot of times you're consuming edibles, it's crap. And our nutrition strengthens and informs our whole functioning of our endocannabinoid system, right? So it's really important and it's really overlooked. So that's one of the things. And, when you're dealing with business, it's like people a lot of times will take sponsorships from anybody. And it's like, I have a vision of doing events one day, but I don't want sponsors. Like, if I'm the kind of person, like, if I don't believe in your product or what you have, I don't think it's good, I can't stand behind it, even if you're paying me. I just don't want to promote it. You know what I'm saying? And that makes things more difficult because when you're not willing to take sponsorship from corporations who are poisoning people, you lose a lot of money, right? You lose a lot of money. And so, I put out videos. I've been putting out videos for years to educate those who want to be educated. All these videos are free, which is why I have started an OnlyFans page for this, because there's certain things that I'm giving out free that's causing me to get blocked and have problems. I don't want to incriminate myself. It's just a lot of things. So I'm like, for those who really want the information, I feel more comfortable going into certain things over there than on a public platform, right? But there's a lot of miseducation that has happened. And cannabis medicine is extremely important, extremely beneficial on so many levels for so many things. Can replace damn near every pharmaceutical, okay? And they don't want that. That is the reason why they're going to say, oh yeah, it's illegal. But you have to go to our stores and you have to use our products. And, so when you're dealing with buying products, food, whatever, you need to know how to evaluate it. So I'm going to continue to educate in that way. Thank you, Energy. I appreciate that. The other limitations to cannabis medicine is the fact that it's federally illegal. It's like, if it's legal in New York and it's illegal in New Jersey, technically, it's not legal to cross state lines with it. Now, I don't know who cares about that, okay? I'm sure if somebody's in Chicago and they have to drive to Milwaukee or they have to drive to Indiana, they're not going to say, oh, it's illegal for me to drive across state lines with the weed that's in my pocket. Like, nobody cares about that, right? Are they really going to arrest people for this? It's just stupid. So laws like that need to be changed. Cannabis does not need to be descheduled, because when it's descheduled from Schedule 1 to a different scheduling class, then it's still highly regulated by pharmaceutical companies and them telling us what we can do and how we can do it and where we can get it. It needs to be like every other herb. There's other herbs that people can smoke, okay, that will make them feel different kinds of ways. And like Damiana, okay? But nobody, I think you can smoke mullein. I know there's other smokable herbs. And, it's crazy. And there's other herbs that people use in vaginal steams that are used medicinally, in salves or whatever. And the government is not saying, oh, you're making a lavender shea butter. You have to tell me exactly how many terpenes from that lavender and exactly, what's the active compounds in the lavender? Okay, so you have to tell me what percentage of that is in there and regulating it to death. You know what I'm saying? They don't do that with other herbs. And there's other herbs that people use medicinally. And maybe you need to know to a degree. Like if you're using echinacea extract or echinacea tea, on the box it will give you a rough idea of what it is. You know what I'm saying? So I understand that to a degree. You know what I'm saying? Like giving somebody a general idea. But I feel like there's over-quantification. And at the end of the day, if people want to be sure they're getting a good product, I highly suggest that you do small batch, small companies, just like with food. With food, you want to go to small farms that are not connected to the commercial food industry, where you can go on that farm and see those cows and see, the eggs, the chickens, whatever, see the conditions, and you know where that's coming from. And when you have a relationship with your farmers, they really have an incentive to not be giving you no crap and making you sick or anything. And the same thing should be true for cannabis. And that's one of the things that I want to do, is really start documenting, and what I will be doing is documenting and interviewing different people in the cannabis space, whether they be farmers, whether they be people who make products. You know what I'm saying? Like I've met some very interesting people over the past couple of months. I'm excited about studying with the Cannabis Holistic Institute under Dr. Pepper Hernandez as well, because she's very big on sun-grown cannabis and visiting cannabis farms. She's heavy on the West Coast. I'm starting to discover that there is a history on the East Coast that's hard to uncover, which is why I read books, okay? Because a lot of stuff is not on the internet. But I know that there is that history on the East Coast. Like, people just think that it's the West Coast, but that's not the case. I'm seeing that in New York State, a lot of the cannabis farms are on Native American land, which I love. That's one of the things in Colombia, is that a lot of the, Colombia is about to be one of the world leaders in cannabis medicine, probably Mexico too. And Colombia, like, a lot of the cannabis is on indigenous land, okay? My thoughts on the New Leaf Company, I don't know much about them. I will look into, please send that message to my inbox, and I'll look into them, because I don't know much about them. I haven't paid attention to a lot of the cannabis companies because I've been working with, not my own, but a friend of mine's company, Miracle Nut, whose products I've used on myself and my clients. And so I haven't been too keen to what's out there, but I will check it out. I just know that when I have seen edibles or things in passing, a lot of times it wasn't good quality. I do have a client in New Orleans who's using, had cannabis infused MCT oil, which I prefer coconut oil over MCT oil. And I will do a video about MCT oil versus coconut oil, but MCT oil is processed, it's not natural. And you have MCT fats that naturally occur in coconut oil. But coconut oil is more well-rounded. So I prefer coconut oil over MCT oil, and I will do a video about that. But I don't think MCT oil is horrible. So, he had a cannabis-infused MCT oil, didn't have any added chemicals in it. So that was pretty decent from a dispensary. Yeah, so I would definitely check it out. And so, so it's just like, these laws, I feel like cannabis, it needs to be legal, but unregulated, in the way of, telling people that they can't go from this state to that state, or we can't fly from Canada to California when it's legal in Canada and legal in California, but it's not legal to fly with it because it's federally illegal. So to me, I feel like, and maybe when I'm not an expert on politics, maybe once I understand a little bit more in depth about the different classifications and how it affects cannabis, because I have seen people who are in the cannabis space who are very knowledgeable, who are against legalization. because they think that it's gonna. But to me, from what I know, I would say I feel like it should be legal, but not rescheduled at all, descheduled, like off of the scheduling thing, so that drug companies and stuff don't have control over it. Okay, it's nature's medicine. It belongs to the people, to people's medicine. Okay, and I'm not comfortable with the FDA being all up in it, because the FDA is not an organization to trust. I say that as an individual, if you want to use cannabis medicinally, and even if you don't have chronic issues, it's good to have stuff just in case. If anything goes down right here in my apartment, I have things that I can deal with. So I don't wait till something happens to get something, okay? But people can, and also you can help your family members. You can have people in your family who are suffering from different ailments. You know what I'm saying? Like my dad was just telling me that he felt like he was getting arthritis. His hands were getting tight. So giving him a cannabis-infused coconut oil to massage into his hands. You know what I'm saying? And if he's home, it's legal to grow cannabis in New York. Why not grow a couple cannabis plants? You have a place with lots of sunlight. You're always there. You can grow cannabis plants. I mean, he smokes anyway. So then you get free weed to smoke. But then you can also use it medicinally. You know what I'm saying? And you can use it medicinally as a preventive method. It's good for your brain health. You know what I'm saying? So all of those things. So it's a powerful herb to have in your pocket there. What is it? I can't ever get that word right. Apothecary? I don't know. But I feel like on the East Coast, there is also a cannabis history that is ignored. I heard there was a nurse practitioner in Chicago who I interviewed, and she told me when she was in Maine that there was this, a lot of the cannabis farmers in Maine owned the shops that they were selling the weed in. So it was like you were getting the weed from the farmers in Maine, okay? When I was in Amherst, Massachusetts, and I want to go back there, I have some videos where I was at a raw milk farm in Hadley, Massachusetts. There was like 3 of them, like in a 5-minute radius, okay? And also lots of cannabis dispensaries. I didn't get a chance to go to any because I was busy with my dad and other people, but there are good weed and raw milk everywhere. That's great, and that's New England. Vermont is one of the healthiest states in the country. I drove through Vermont once, and I always wanted to go back there. Vermont is beautiful, and they have some of the best food when it comes to Vermont is very conscious of local foods, of getting foods from local farmers. So I can only imagine that carries on into cannabis, okay? That they're very conscious of getting good quality cannabis from locally sourced. It doesn't have a bunch of crap on it. And so that consciousness, I feel like, is very strong in the cannabis community, and I just hope that they realize that they need to be like that with their food too, okay? Because there's a huge disconnect. I see a huge disconnect. I'll be at a cannabis conference and people are eating White Castle and McDonald's, and I'm like, oh my God, no. No. That's why you probably have all these issues that you need cannabis to treat, okay? And we just want to live a long, healthy life. And if you follow my work, I think that healthy food should be good. I'm not somebody that eats a bunch of tasteless salad and chickpeas and chia seeds and shit like that. No, lots of butter and seafood and some good, quality milk and dairy and sour cream and cheese. Yum, 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 yum. Lots of butter, okay? Good steaks, good burgers made from good meat and good cheeses. Fries fried in good quality fat, some ghee, some tallow, okay? All right? Spinach cooked in lots of butter, cream spinach. Those type of foods. And those are the foods that's good for our brain, that support our endocannabinoid system. Definitely check out my video on, did you know our endocannabinoids are made from animal fats? That one, and a video I did on nutrition and cannabis. Definitely check out those videos. You can find them on my IG, my YouTube. I will post them below on my YouTube. But yeah, I'm so glad to see cannabis medicine being more accepted, not just in America, but around the world. Germany, I think already had medical cannabis, but they just opened it recreationally. Mexico and Canada, weed is legal. You have a lot of countries in South America and Central America who are starting to legalize and decriminalize it. And a lot of European countries, okay? And, but it's still limiting, because you can't, like I told you, I use cannabis oil, and I use cannabis medicinally for a lot of different things. Like when I'm on my menstrual cycle, I smoke it to deal with like the bloating and the uncomfortable feeling that I feel in my cycle. And in that time, it's smoking that helps. You know what I'm saying? And it's been like that my entire life before I ever knew that that was a thing, that women have been using it for that for thousands of years. But it's like the observation, I could feel it. You know what I'm saying? And thank you for the compliment. And so now if I go travel to another country, it's like it's illegal to take it over there. Like, you know, you're not even using it to get high. You're using it in case you cut yourself, or in case you get an infection, or you get food poisoning, or you have a headache because you don't want to take pharmaceuticals. Or maybe pharmaceuticals don't work on you and you're legit using it medicinally, but you can't, you know, go to another country with it. That might make some people not want to travel. You know what I'm saying? There are people with legit health problems, and cannabis is the only thing that helps them. It's the only thing that's helping them. And so, but they can't leave the country now because they can't, you know what I'm saying? So these laws need to change, not just in America, but around the world. And a lot of the world follows what America does. And the more countries that start to legalize it, the more hope we have that it will one day be legal to move around as we please with it. As long as it's been a certain amount, so they don't think that you're like a drug trafficker or something. But it's very interesting, you know, I've been very much into the medicinal properties and applications. I had not paid so close attention to the laws and stuff until I took this class in my graduate program. And it's really opened my eyes wide to the complexities of laws and what's allowed all around the world, okay? Not just in America, but all around the world. And it has changed. I travel a lot, but now I'm like, well, I want to go to countries where cannabis is legal. Because I love cannabis. And I don't want to travel and not have it. And I'm interested to see how other countries do things. So that's one of the things that motivated me to go to Ecuador, you know, because it's very legal there. In Uruguay, which is a country, when I tried to see how to get to Uruguay, it seems like impossible. I was like spending 2 hours trying to find a flight. Like, that shit's far, and it seems, I don't even know how you get there. You might have to take a bus from Argentina. I don't fucking know. But it has inspired me to want to go to those countries that have a cannabis culture. Argentina, they're giving away free medical cannabis to cannabis patients. I want to go to South Africa because South Africa, I think there's only 2 countries in Africa where cannabis is legal, and that's South Africa and another country in West Africa or something. I don't remember what country it is. I don't think it's Equatorial Guinea. I don't remember. I'm going to find out. I'm going to do some videos about that. But yeah, all these things can be limiting factors for, you know, access to cannabis medicine. And, you know, I definitely use it medicinally, but no, I haven't gotten permission from anybody. I do know what I'm doing. You know, I have a science background, but I've learned about how to use it traditionally from someone who has a history of that in their family. You know, there are certain things, like my Jamaican friend who has taught me a lot, and he's a very brilliant person, graduate of Tuskegee, an engineer. He told me that, you know, they take the tinctures, which is he mixed with moonshine, and they use it topically for stuff. Now, I don't understand the science behind that. I understand the science behind using oil topically, but not an alcohol-based tincture. Maybe I'll understand that in my classes, come taking some pharmacology and pharmacokinetics and stuff like that now. But I don't get that. But when I was speaking to a nurse practitioner who works with many patients, she has had many patients, kids to adults, with all kinds of chronic health problems, cancers, really bad autism, self-injuring autism, you know, just a lot of things. And she was saying that she also has heard that, like Mexicans, they also use it in that way. The alcohol-based tinctures they use topically, and they just keep the cannabis in the bottle of alcohol, they shake it up, whatever, they use it when they need it. And I've seen that on YouTube in Mexico, them doing that. So she also didn't understand the science behind it, and I don't either. But Mexicans and Jamaicans both been doing it, so obviously it works somehow. So now it's for the scientists to try to understand, well, how? What is the mechanism in which that works? I'm not trying to prove it that it works, because if we see that there's 2 different groups of people, and probably more than them, that use it in that way, that have been using it that way for generations. So obviously there's something to that. So now it's the Western scientist's job to figure out the science behind it, the mechanism behind it, right? But I'm very much, for me, when learning, I'm very much into, yes, I have a background in Western science. It has given me the scientific background to be able to evaluate studies. You know, I hear a lot of people say they don't use their college degree and they got a degree in something and it wasn't worth it. I've used my college degree, everything that I've learned in college. I've used it every day of my adult life since college, okay? And now what I'm doing my master's in, It just complements what I've been doing, what I already knew, the foundation I already had. And it just enables me to continue to help my clients more and to develop other companies to educate people, educate other healthcare practitioners, okay? Because whether you're a massage therapist, a nutritionist, a trainer, a physical therapist, an occupational therapist, a nurse, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Except nurses can't really mess with it. But it's important, no matter what kind of healthcare practitioner you are, to know about it. And there are applications for in your field, okay? In your field. Doulas, midwives, you know what I'm saying? There are applications during labor, in pregnancy, in postpartum. There are applications, cannabis applications. So all these different healthcare practitioners have a lot they can learn about it and should learn. Because even learning about cannabis medicine helps you understand how the body works better, because then you're also learning about the endocannabinoid system, which is not spoken about enough, okay? And which is informed by nutrition. I have you wanting to go to school for nutrition? That's great. The school I went to Teachers College at Columbia University. It's an intense master's program. I actually didn't finish it. It's like 55 credits, okay? Most master's programs are like 30-something credits. This one was 55 credits, but this was in applied physiology and nutrition education. Now I think it's called exercise physiology and nutrition. But they might have one that's just nutrition without the exercise physiology part. And I think that may be less credits. I would finish that degree now if I could, but I don't think you can do that online. I think you have to be there. I'm trying to see if they have an online option. I would love to do that. I didn't finish the program because I went there right after undergrad, and I was, back then life was different. This is like, I graduated college in 2003, so almost 20 years ago, oh my God. And so there was no online school. I was full-time. I had to be full-time in order to get funding, but then I had to pay rent in New York City. I had a roommate, but I still had bills. I didn't go back to my parents' house. Maybe I should have done that, but I thought like, oh, I'm out of college, I'm grown, I don't want to go back home. So I went right into having a roommate, having to pay bills, and I could not, pay these bills and work and be a full-time student. Back then you were taking 3-4 classes at once, and they were hard. So I ended up doing I think like a year and a half out of a 3-year program. But I did learn a lot with the things. And then I also got disheartened because I didn't want to be a dietitian. And you don't have to be a dietitian, but you have that option to become a registered dietitian. And I didn't want to do that because then you're restricted in what you can say, according to what the American Dietetic Association says is okay. And I have seen dietitians who have, who now regret doing what they did, giving pregnant women horrible advice that probably led to them, being sick during their pregnancy and having health problems they shouldn't have had, because the American Dietetic Association said this is what you're supposed to say, right? So I decided to do my own thing. But that's the program I was in, and that was the only program in the U.S. that did not take money from the food industry, commercial food industry. But that doesn't mean you couldn't join another nutrition program that's good, but just do a lot of use the science you learn to do your own critical thinking skills and evaluate things, okay? Because some things you get told in school is not right, but if you learn the science, you can use your own brain and dissect things and figure out what makes sense, right? But if you have any questions about that, always feel free to ask me, for sure. And then I'm a sports nutritionist certified by the International Society of Sports Nutrition, so yeah. So, yeah, if you guys learned something from this video, please like it. Please share it. Please subscribe to my YouTube and my Instagram. Feel free to check out my OnlyFans. And I think that I've said what I need to say. I'm going to go deeper into this conversation on my OnlyFans page because there's things that I don't want to get into on here because, can't trust everybody. Don't want to get too deep. But definitely I suggest, looking into... Yeah, Clubhouse. Yeah, I'm with getting on Clubhouse this week, and I'm glad you suggested that because I've been wanting to. I'm like, I need to get on Clubhouse more. That's been in my mind over the past couple of weeks. I'm like, when am I going to do it? And so, yeah, let's do Clubhouse. If you're on Clubhouse. So, yeah, for those of you out there listening, if you don't know about Clubhouse, definitely join me on Clubhouse. It's a dope app where you have dope conversations. There's a lot of stupid conversations, too. It depends on what you're tapped into. But I'm about to go hard on Clubhouse because I feel like that is a very good app to learn, okay? So if you want to find me on Clubhouse, just look up my name, Makeda Valletta. You put Makeda Valletta on Clubhouse, you'll find me, follow me, Press the little bell so you know when I'm having rooms. But I am going to start doing some rooms on a regular basis for sure. Because I see a lot of people talking about stuff and they don't know what they're talking about. And so it's time to dig deep. So yeah, find me on Clubhouse, YouTube, Instagram. And I hope you all have a great day. I'm going to let this video go. I think I made my point. And I'll talk to you later. Enjoy your day, people. Bye.